So this event is Intro to HTML, and we'll be going over what HTML is and how to use it. So what's HTML? HTML is, well, first it stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and it's used for documents that are supposed to be displayed in web browsers. So these are better known as web pages. A bit of history. HTML was created by Tim Berners-Lee back in 1990. Tim Berners-Lee also created the World Wide Web. And an important thing to note about HTML is that it's not a programming language, but it's a markup language. And this just means that it's just a language for formatting how things look. So it's not really, you're not going to be able to like program big applications in it. For that, you'd need something else like JavaScript. But HTML basically just decides how the document looks, how things are formatted. So what does HTML look like? So to see what it looks like, you can just go to any website and right-click anywhere on the page and click on View Page Source. So if I just go to netsoc.ie, and then I inspect the page source, what we have here is HTML. You can see all the different elements here. So this is what HTML documents look like. You have these tags. So these things in angle brackets are called tags. And they usually come in pairs. So you see this head one here, and then down here is another head one, but the one at the end has a backslash at the start. So yeah, you can do this for every website on the internet. Every website is made with HTML, so it's a great thing to learn if you're new to web development, because it's actually really simple, as you'll see later on. So HTML syntax. So the building blocks of HTML are called HTML elements, and they are indicated by tags. So the tags come in the form the name of the tag, the name of the element inside angle brackets here. So this P, it means paragraph. So a paragraph element needs to have these P tags. And they typically come in pairs with some text in between opening and closing tags. So the closing tags, as I said, have a slash in front of the element type name. And HTML documents, it's just basically a series of nested elements. So if I go back to the source here, you can see that there are a bunch of elements inside other elements. So here at the top, you've got the root one, which is the HTML element, and inside you have your head element, your body, and then inside all those you have smaller ones like divs and anchor tags, paragraphs. And I'll go over what each of those do soon. So yeah, so let's write our own. So you don't need much to actually start writing HTML. You need something like, you need a text editor, such as Vim, Notepad, or Emacs. So you don't need anything fancy or anything, because HTML isn't really fancy. You just need something that you can write text in. So if you're on Windows, Notepad is probably the best shout. I'll be using NeoVim, which is just a sort of fork of Vim. It's just what I personally use. You'll also need a web browser, such as Firefox, Google Chrome, or Safari. You might notice that I'm using Brave. And that's it. Like, you don't need to download anything else. So yeah, that's the end of my slides. So now I'll just move on to actually writing some HTML. So this can't hide that. First thing you want to do is create a file and name it something, but make sure the name ends with a .html, HTML extension. That just tells the browser that it's a HTML file. So if you're using Notepad, just open up Notepad and then save the file, Control S, and just name it something.html. Okay, so the first thing is you need to write this HTML declaration. Just looks like doc type followed by an exclamation mark followed by HTML. So this just tells the browser that it is a HTML document. I think you can get away without using it for most browsers, but it's recommended that you put it in just in case someone's using a really obscure browser that requires this. So then you want to put in the first element that you need. The root element is the HTML element. So everything goes inside here, in between these two tags. So it's a good idea to put them on separate lines, because you don't want to have all your HTML on one line, because that's unreadable, unless you have a really wide monitor. So then inside the HTML tags, you have two pairs of tags, head and body. And so the head contains stuff like just metadata about the file. So whatever goes in the head, it's not stuff that actually appears on the screen. Actually, before we continue, I'm going to just open up the file in the browser. So this is what the HTML file looks like before you put anything in it. It's just a blank screen. So if I reopen the file again in the text editor. So, right. So what kind of stuff goes in the head? Well, you can put a title in. So the title is what appears up here in the tab. So if you don't have a title, it just defaults to the name of the file, so mysite.html. But you don't really see that on the internet, so you might want to just make my site appear because it looks a bit nicer. So I've just updated that file, and if I reload the page, then you'll notice here that it now says my site, just like I told it to. So yeah, other things that you might want to put in head are styling details. So that's a bit out of scope for this event, because there are a lot of different things you can do with CSS. So we'll be going more into that next week. And for today, we'll mostly be focusing on what goes in the body. So the body actually determines what goes like on the screen. So you can just write text inside your body. So this is some text, and yeah, if I reload it, it just appears here. But this isn't really how you're supposed to do things in HTML, because let's say I want to have two different blocks of text. You might think that I might just be able to put it. Bless you. You might think you just might be able to put the text on two different lines, and it'll appear that way on the screen in the browser. But you'd be wrong, because it just treats it on as if it's just one line. So the way you actually get it to be two different lines is by putting your text inside paragraph tags. So this way, the text will be treated as if you have two separate paragraphs, like so. Yeah. So if you're writing big, long spiels of text, it's pretty handy to separate them into paragraphs. Now, if you want some, say, a heading for your big text, you can do that by using H1. And this H here stands for heading. And if I do this, you can see that the text is much bigger than the paragraph text. So let's say you want then a subheading. And you can then use H2. And you get some smaller text in the heading. And actually, there are 6 different sizes for headings. So I'm just going to show you them all here, because why not? And the number in the tag determines how small it is. So 1 is the biggest and 6 is the smallest. And you can see here that it's just getting smaller and smaller. And in fact, H6 is actually smaller than the paragraph text, which is a bit funny. But yeah, so those are the headings. Now, what else would you want to put in HTML? You might want some images. So to do that, you need an image element. Now, image is a bit interesting because it doesn't actually need a closing tag. So it's not you're not supposed to put text in between tags for an image, so they just make it come in one tag. So how do you actually find an image to display? How do you specify what image gets displayed? So to do that, you need to start learning about HTML attributes. And what attributes are, they're just little things that are written inside a tag. So it's in between the angle brackets, just after the HTML element type name. So for finding out where an element, for finding out where the image should come from, you're gonna need to use the source attribute. So write out source followed by equals, and then in quotes, so I have a file in my directory. It's called trinity.jpg, and it's just a picture of the campanile. So if I reload this, yeah, you get the campanile here. Now, let's say I didn't have a file called, let's say instead of JPEG, I'm looking for something called .jpg. Now, this file doesn't exist on my computer. So when I reload it, I get this. So you sometimes might also get that if there are problems with like the network. If you're having slow Wi-Fi and you can't load images. It's a good idea to have some alternate text there in case someone can't load images. So to do that, you use the alt attribute. And then inside here, you just specify what the image is supposed to describe. So if I reload it, then you can see here that there's supposed to be an image here of Trinity College. So this is also, I think, used by screen readers for people who are visually impaired. So in order to make your websites accessible, you should always use alt text for images. Just something to keep in mind. Now, what else then? Oh yeah, so let's say I was looking for the right file. Then the alt text, it only appears if the image can't load. Okay. So the next thing then you might want to put on a website is a link. So the link, the tag for a link is A. It stands for anchor. I'm not sure why. But yeah, so inside this, you would say, so let's say I want to link to netsoc.ie. I'm just going to write, this is the netsoc website. So if I save this, it just appears as regular text, which isn't really what we want. We need to actually specify the link. So to do that, we need to use the href attribute. And as you can see here in NeoVim, it actually underlines the text, which is a pretty nice feature. So yeah, so you need to specify the URL for the website that you want to link to. So you might think that you could just put in netsoc.ie, and let's try and open this. Yeah, you'd be wrong, because what this does is it looks for a file called netsoc.ie on your computer. So up here in the URL, this has my it lists out the absolute path to the file, and because I don't have a file called netsoc.ie in my directory, it's just going to return this. So what you need to actually do is to put in the full URL for the website. So if you've ever looked at the address bar, you might know that websites start with https:// or just HTTP if they don't have SSL. But like most sites on the internet have HTTPS now. So if I go back to the website here and click the link again, open it in a new tab. Now it links to the NetSuck website, which is pretty cool. Okay. What other things can I do? Oh yeah. So let's say I want to make it so that if I click the image of the campanile, it'll bring me to the NetSuck website. So to do this, what you would need to do is to actually move the image inside the anchor tags. So I'll just do this. And typically when you want to put elements inside elements, you should put them on separate lines. You could do this, but if you keep doing that, it does get a bit out of hand if you have a bunch of nested elements. So so now when I reload this page and I click the Trinity web or the campanile, it brings me to the NetSuck website. Another thing about href is it's not limited to websites. You can also just use it like source. So I could I could put in trinity.jpg again, and then it will just sorry, I had to reload this. It'll just open up the picture on its own. Okay. What else is there? Lists. So you might want to have a list of things. So there are two different types of lists. First, there's the unordered list, UL, not University of Limerick. And then inside these UL tags, you put in LI, which stands for list item, if I am correct. So then you can just put, let's say it's a shopping list. So you put in apples, put in bananas. Let's put another one in, carrots. And I reload this, then you can see that it's actually a bulleted list. So this is useful for, well, lists if you want a list on your website. Now, if you want an ordered list, you can just change this U to an O, ordered list. And if we reload the page, the bullet points have become numbers. Yeah, so that is, oh, one thing I forgot. So about this image, let's say I want to make it bigger. So I can change the height. I can put in a height attribute and specify the height. Let's say it's 750 pixels. I'm going to reload it here. Oh, that's the href, wrong one. Yeah, it has to be image. So height equals 750 pixels. Now it's really big. So that's not great. Let's just try 500. There, that's fine. So we can have the height be 500. If we want, we can make the width 500 either. That's a bit different. And you can also specify the height and the width. So if you want to make it a square, you could say it would both be 500. And it's a square. It does distort the image a bit. Let's say 50. Really messed up. There you go. So I think that's it. Now what I'm gonna do is, so you might want to put your website now on the internet. So to do that, you can use NetSuck Web Spaces. So I'll just go through quickly, just setting one up. So I think I have a NetSuck Web Space already. So I'll just delete mine. We've done a bunch of events in the past where we detailed setting up the web space. So I'm not going to go into like detail with this, but you can check those out. We have recordings on YouTube. We have a few more coming as well. Just haven't got around to editing the videos yet. But yeah, so I'm just going to set up a new web space. Get a Ubuntu one. I don't need a password. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm using ST suckless terminal, and there's like some weird issue with this. So just whenever I make a new web space, I always have to put in. Just have to change the term environment variable. Okay, so that's fine. You might not need to do that. You probably don't. Right. So what do I need to do? Install first a text editor, and also Nginx, because you need a web server, and we recommend Nginx because it's fairly simple to just get going. You just install it. Oops, I didn't update the packages. And oh yeah. Okay. So now if I go to /www/html and I list the contents here. I'm just going to copy this file to a new file called index.html. And if I open that up, that should replace the default file. So I'm going to go now to my web space, bannon.netsuck.ie, and you can see that it's there. So here you have a HTML file. We've discussed most of this. The only new thing here is the style. So this is just, so you see here the Nginx message here. It's centered on the page, and that's because of this style styling here. I'll go over it just fairly briefly. What style does is, so you just write the name of the element, so body in this case, and then you put in curly brackets, and then you just specify a bunch of different attributes. So that just saves you having to write. Excuse me. Saves you having to write a bunch of attributes inside your tags. Now, if I delete this because it's not really necessary, and I reload it, yeah, it'll just go back to kind of how it was here, where everything was on the left. So if you want to make like a sample website, I'll just go through it here. Since I have a Trinity picture, I'll just make an alternate Trinity website here. So yeah, I changed the title to Welcome to Trinity. I'll do the same for this. If you want, you can just make a personal website, but I already have one of those, so I'm just going to make this. And so we've got a paragraph here. Is I'm just messing around at this point. You can so yeah, let's say we want to get that picture. I think you can also like source images from the internet as well. Just in the same way you could use href for a local file. For images here. Sure, I'll use this one. So I'll just copy the link URL. Paste it in here. Actually, no, I'll make an image. And so go back to the website here. Why didn't that load? Well. So yeah, you can just make a HTML file like this, and if you put it on your web space using Nginx, it should be viewable over the internet. So you should be able to go to this website and see this page here. But that's it, I think, for this event.